Hello and welcome to the DSR Daily. I'm your host for today, Riley Fessler, joined by Minna Stein. How are you, Minna?
I'm well. I'm back from Savannah, Georgia, hanging out for a little bit, and I'm refreshed and ready to soak in the news of the day.
Excellent. I'm glad to hear it. David will not be joining us today, unfortunately. But in his stead, Minna, why don't you go ahead and get us started?
Sounds good. The U.S. military killed 6 alleged drug smugglers in a strike off Venezuela's coast in an action President Trump said was authorized under his powers as commander-in-chief amid a broader campaign against Latin American drug cartels. The administration has not provided evidence linking the targets to narcotics or terrorism, raising concerns in Congress about the legality and oversight of such operations. Despite bipartisan pushback, Senate Republicans recently blocked an effort to limit the strikes, while Trump continues to justify them under the claim of an ongoing quote-unquote armed conflict with designated terrorist organizations. It kind of reminds me of a few days ago when RFK Jr. was talking about like Tylenol and it causing autism, and then he said, "We'll find the proof. Don't worry, we'll find the proof." It's like, well, why are we doing these things without having the proof first? So that kind of seems like that seems like the line of thinking on this as well. Like, well, we'll blow up these ships. Don't worry, though. We'll find the proof that these 6 people who were killed were drug smugglers. We'll find it. Don't worry. It's like, no, I am worried. Why are we doing this without proof?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's that they're doing what they want to do, and they're like, well, we'll just like figure out some way to justify it later, or what's more likely is they'll be like, well, we'll just wait until the news cycle moves on, and then people forget that we did this. Which I feel like is the more likely scenario here. I mean, they haven't provided proof that any of the other smugglers that they hit were, or I guess I should say alleged drug smugglers, were in fact drug smugglers. And, we did a story here about how the Colombian president said, hey, these guys were not Venezuelan, they were actually Colombian. And we just haven't heard really a peep out of the administration trying to justify those. And I doubt we will hear a peep out of the administration trying to justify these beyond just saying they're drug smugglers. Trust me, bro. They were. We don't have to prove it, though. So, it's not a surprise. And they're going to continue to do this until Congress steps up and tells them to stop. And even then, they'll probably continue to do it. So it's a sad story. Sad that more people have to die. Needlessly, especially if they are completely innocent of being drug smugglers. But that's kind of where we're at. Well, some positive news. Aid trucks entered Gaza and Israel resumed preparations to open the main Rafah crossing, signaling a stabilization of the fragile ceasefire that had been jeopardized by a dispute with Hamas. The conflict arose when Israel threatened to keep Rafah shut and reduce aid after Hamas initially returned the bodies of dead hostages too slowly, showing the precarious nature of the truce. The situation was resolved when the militant group returned more Israeli bodies overnight, leading Israel to proceed with plans to open Rafah and allow 600 aid trucks into the hunger-stricken enclave. However, the truce remains at risk due to this ongoing disagreement over remaining hostage bodies, alongside major unresolved issues like Hamas's refusal to disarm and the long-term governance of Gaza. We've talked about a lot of reasons why to be skeptical of this supposed deal on this show and many others on the DSR network, so I won't relitigate that here. But always positive when humanitarian aid is allowed into Gaza. It is sorely needed. We've talked about the famine conditions there and numerous other just horrific conditions in Gaza. So positive that 600 aid trucks are being allowed in. Obviously, we need more, and we need it to be more sustained. But any help is welcomed right now in Gaza to alleviate the situation there. So good that this was able to be resolved relatively quickly. And we can only hope that they kind of are able to resolve any future disputes equally as swiftly and allow this crisis to be over. But we have our doubts here on the DSR network, but you can be sure that we will discuss this further as it comes up.
Well, thank you for sharing that good news as a little break before we smack down with some more bad news, unfortunately. The U.S. State Department has revoked the visas of at least 6 foreign nationals from countries including Argentina, South Africa, and Mexico for making social media posts that celebrated or justified the killing of conservative activist Charlie Kirk. Officials, including Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Deputy Secretary Christopher Landau, emphasized that the U.S. won't tolerate foreigners endorsing violence against Americans while on U.S. visas. Kirk, founder of Turning Point USA, was posthumously awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom, with his widow accepting the honor. This is obviously, they're using this as a disguise for xenophobia and not wanting people to immigrate to the United States or stay here or contribute to our economy, our culture, all of these fabulous things that people from other countries contribute to. The administration obviously doesn't want that, and so they're under the guise of, they threatened violence against Americans, are canceling their visas, which I think is a very scary thing.
It is scary, and it's even scary that, Charlie Kirk is not a government official. They were not threatening violence against a government official, or even they were not threatening violence against someone who is alive. We can say that the comments are gross and despicable, celebrating someone's death, but also say that doesn't merit revoking someone's visa. Again, unless it's a threat of violence against a credible threat of violence against a government official or someone who is still alive, I don't really see how that's grounds to revoke their visa. But we know this administration will just kind of use any reason they can to revoke someone's visa. We've seen it over Gaza speech, over Charlie Kirk speech. Free speech does not apply if you are a visa holder, unfortunately. And that seems to be the policy for this administration. Well, Los Angeles County officials declared a state of emergency to assist residents financially impacted by ongoing federal immigration raids, which have ramped up over the summer. This move, passed by a 4-1 vote, grants the Board of Supervisors the power to provide rent relief and funnel state money for legal aid to households destabilized by the crackdown. The aggressive raids have spread fear in immigrant communities, with many residents limiting their outings and families struggling financially after wage earners were detained by federal agents. Opponents of the declaration, including one supervisor and landlord groups, questioned if the raids met the criteria for an emergency and worried about potential legal challenges and the financial burden it could place on landlords. Won't someone please think of the landlords? I don't care about the landlords at all, but so I view this as a positive thing. Good to see that local governments are still doing what they can to help these disaffected groups and these groups that are suffering from the ICE crackdown. I view this only as a positive thing. Obviously, we'd like to see the raids lessened, but given that doesn't seem to be possible with this current administration, it's good to see that local governments are stepping up and doing what they can to kind of help ensure that life goes on for these people that are being targeted.
And our last story for the day: leaked Telegram chats among young Republican leaders revealed pervasive racist, anti-Semitic, misogynistic, and violent rhetoric, including slurs, threats of rape, and references to white supremacist symbols, as members plotted a hard-right takeover of the National Federation. Several named figures have faced professional consequences or public condemnation, while some implicated in the log have apologized or claimed the messages were doctored or leaked via extortion. The scandal exposed deep factional infighting, alleged financial mismanagement in the New York Young Republicans, and a broader coarsening of conservative political discourse during the Trump era. Many thoughts on this. One thought being Signal Chat is probably throwing a party. Leaked chat story, not about them and about someone else. So small win for Signal Chat, huge loss for everyone else. I thought that Republicans were getting rid of anti-Semitism. I thought that was their whole thing. That's very interesting. I thought all of this silencing and taking away free speech rights was all in the name of anti-Semitism. So interesting that they're the ones spreading the anti-Semitism. I didn't see that coming. I did see it coming. Yeah, this is disgusting. And honestly, not at all surprising that like a group of like young guys who are running young Republicans are feeling a little too powerful under this new MAGA climate. So scary stuff, and makes me a little nervous about our generation and like the future of our two-party system.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, next you're gonna tell me that the sky is blue.
yeah.
This is like the least surprising story you could have said. This is not really I wouldn't even consider this news, but hey, I mean, I'm glad that it's being covered, because I guess for the few people out there who would be surprised by this, I'm glad they're finding out about it. But I think most of us, find this wholly unsurprising, like you said. So
Unsurprising, but like you still hope it's not happening, right? You wouldn't be surprised if it was, but you hope it's not. And then when you find out it is, it's still shocking a little bit. And I think people need apparently as many examples as possible of all of the not good things that are going on with young Republicans and old Republicans. I think it's important to share all of the shocking stories, but yeah, not at all surprising, but still scary.
Well, that is all we have for you today, but we've got more DSR Daily and shows across the DSR network coming to you for the rest of the week, so stay tuned for those. We've got some special ones on the way that you won't want to miss. So to make sure you hear all of those and everything else we have to offer, please subscribe on our YouTube channels, follow us on various podcast platforms of your choosing, and consider becoming a member to support us. And until we see you again, bye-bye.
I don't know if it's just me, but you're like moving in slow motion. And also I can't hear you.
I wasn't really moving because I was just typing.
Oh, okay. No, but it's not like you're not moving. It's like this, like, I don't know. There's like a lag, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But
Oh wait, we're still recording. Shit.